prophetic. So one thing that I've found very helpful is called the parts of a prophetic word: revelation, interpretation, and application. Okay, so Ria. So just think of Ria. And these are the three parts to give a prophetic word that we should sort of keep in mind when we're receiving something from God, when we're giving a word to someone. So revelation is the first part. And revelation is simply something that the Holy Spirit reveals to us. Revelation, reveal, something that he uncovers, something that he shows to us. We've given some examples of revelation. You've seen God giving revelation to us, even a word of affirmation. It's a revelation. It's something that was disclosed by the Holy Spirit, that was revealed by the Holy Spirit. So one example that you can see on the screen now is this purple flower. Okay, so obviously there's billions of purple flowers in the world, but when God reveals that to you by maybe putting a picture in your mind or a thought where you know that's not your natural thought, that's a revelation. So that's when the natural imagination, the screen of our mind where we have thoughts all the time, becomes revelation when the Holy Spirit is breathing upon something that he wants to communicate. So something as simple as a picture of a flower, or that inner voice, that still small voice that says, for someone, I believe that the best is yet to come for you, that there's new wine, and that the best, the joy of the Lord is going to be poured out through and on your life and through to others. And when you have that sense for someone, that's a revelation. And we can receive revelation through many, many ways. And Sheila's been sharing some of these, and we did that survey where we went through some of the ways God communicates. These are all ways that God can give us revelation. The next thing is interpretation. And this is really important, because interpretation is getting understanding. It's getting clarity about the revelation. What does it mean? God, what are you saying about this to this person? So if we think of that example of a purple flower, I mean, what does that mean to someone? So if you receive that picture and you feel it's from the Holy Spirit and you gave it to someone, for the majority of people, it wouldn't mean anything to them other than it's a nice flower kind of thing. And when you share it with them, I mean, for someone, there might be a very significant meaning if God's shown them that picture before, or if there's some significance in their life with purple flowers. There can be a very profound, powerful meaning just in the revelation. But for the majority, we need to interpret. We need to say, Holy Spirit, what are you doing? And what are you saying about this revelation? And this is where it's really good for us to learn to interpret together, especially when we're starting in the prophetic. It's good for us to take the revelation that we're receiving and to be in a safe group with some other prophetic people, and we can say, this is what God's showing me. Well, what do you think God's saying? And actually, in the area of dreams, this is even more important, because dreams are often symbolic and can have deeper meanings. So whether it's dreams or pictures or God's voice, when we share the revelation that we're receiving with other prophetic people, we can interpret together. We can ask God, what are you saying? And this is when we learn to grow. So the interpretation phase of the prophetic word, it gives us the more. It gives us the meat in the sandwich. It gives us something to really allow the person to really grab onto. So you would have seen this morning, I think Sheila demonstrated it. She got 3 words of affirmation, but then she got a prophetic word. So we could say that the word of affirmation was like a revelation, but then as she interpreted it, as she just processed it with the Holy Spirit, she began to get more, and she gave that out as a prophetic word. So there's no firm line between these things, but there's sort of this process, this flow that goes on. So the next and the last thing in the RIA is application. And there are actually 2 parts to application. The first part is, how do we give the word? Okay, so this morning we were typing the words into a chat. You can send a prophetic word to someone on WhatsApp. You can give it to them face to face one day, or if they're in your family, in your bubble, you can give it to them right now or today. So the delivery is such a big area. So we have delivery and we have application. So we're not going to go into a lot of detail today about delivery, but we just want to say that delivery is always with love. So when we are giving prophetic words to people, it's a love letter. It's God's heart. It's his heart of love. We've already talked about that. It should be natural. The prophetic should just be just like a conversation, because this is how God speaks to us. He doesn't normally come with that big booming Charlton Heston voice from the 10 Commandments. He speaks to us through through even a voice that sounds very much like our own voice from within us, but that's the voice of God. And that's how we should be speaking to people, so that they will see it's God. People will know when God's speaking to them. So let's keep it natural and conversational, and always give people a choice. Always say, this is what I sense God saying to me. I just release this to you, and let people receive it and weigh it and apply it in their lives. And so the second part is application, putting on the paint. It's processing the word, and that's up to the person receiving the word. So when we give words to people, it's good to encourage them, say to them, just, I really encourage you, go away and pray, weigh this word up, ask, the Lord what it's for, or, even give them a choice as to whether they will receive or not. If someone says, well, I don't really receive that, or that's not very encouraging, people have the authority to do that. We all have that discernment. So it's good to encourage people to take that role. And sometimes when we're doing prophetic, and we'll look at this later, we actually give people a sheet of paper with some tips on what they can do with their prophetic words, and we'll send that out to everyone at another time. So that's when we're being a bit more intentional about being in prophetic times. So revelation and interpretation very much go together. Sometimes there's no demarcation between the two. The revelation will come, we interpret it with the Holy Spirit, and then we deliver it and people apply it to their lives. But I want to say to you, sometimes we should share the revelation. Sometimes it's probably appropriate not to share the revelation, because that was just the way God is getting our attention, using something to begin to share his heart. We had a sister in another country that we worked with. She would get very clear pictures and visions. She would see into heaven what God was doing. She would see angels and lights and all sorts of things, but very accurate. And she would often begin her prophetic word with what she was seeing. And after a while, we realized, okay, maybe you need to be asking more, what is God saying about this revelation? Because it's very good that you're receiving such clear revelation, but people aren't really understanding what God's saying to them. They're sort of saying, wow, it's like God seeing all this stuff for me, but what's he actually saying? So we encourage the sister to get a bit deeper into the interpretation side, and maybe not even mention the revelation unless it was something that is specific for that person. So this comes with experience. It comes as we grow together. It comes as people give us feedback. So don't be hung up on whether you should or should not give the revelation. To let the Holy Spirit give you that understanding. So,